There is a reason someone may have fallen for you so deeply that even they struggled to understand it. If you've been feeling a confusing emotional pull or sensing unusual intensity around this connection, it may be because their feelings became larger than they knew how to manage. Sometimes what appears as distance or emotional withdrawal is not caused by a lack of feeling, but by emotions that feel overwhelming to the person experiencing them. If you want the full truth about why someone fell dangerously in love with you, hit like so more hearts can see this. Deep love is rarely created by attraction alone. As Carl Jung suggested, meaningful relationships often awaken hidden parts of the psyche, the vulnerable, neglected, or unhealed parts we usually keep buried. When someone touches those deeper places, love can feel both beautiful and unsettling because it asks a person to face emotions they have spent years avoiding. That is why powerful feelings can sometimes appear as confusion, hesitation, or emotional resistance instead of immediate closeness. The first reason someone may have fallen so deeply was not simply what you did for them, but how they felt in your presence. While many people try to earn love through over-explaining, over-giving, or constantly proving themselves, genuine emotional presence creates something far more lasting. Calm, warmth, emotional depth, and authenticity can feel rare to someone accustomed to emotionally unavailable or superficial relationships. That quiet sense of being truly seen can leave a lasting impression that is difficult to replace. They felt seen without pressure, warmth without control, and closeness without force. That kind of emotional safety can be more unsettling than passion because desire is easy to understand, but feeling safe after years of self-protection is not. They built their identity around emotional control, and your presence quietly made those defenses feel unnecessary. For someone whose walls became survival, that can feel frightening rather than comforting. They may have quietly wondered why they felt calmer, more themselves, and more at peace around you. Those questions often mark the beginning of deep attachment. Sometimes people pull away not because they feel less, but because they feel too much. Instead of moving closer, they overthink every interaction, question their emotions, and try to regain control, even though, underneath it all, they simply found emotional relief in your presence. The second reason they fell so deeply is that you reflected a part of themselves they had abandoned long ago. As Carl Jung suggested, we often fall in love not only with another person, but with the hidden parts of ourselves we recognize through them. Your emotional honesty, quiet strength, and way of being awakened something they had forgotten. Comment deep. If this intense emotional pull feels familiar right now, something in you mirrored a version of them they once were, or a version they desperately wished they could become. That mirror effect is incredibly powerful because it bypasses logic. They may not even consciously understand why you affect them so strongly. They only know something about you feels deeply familiar and strangely meaningful. Maybe your softness reminded them of innocence they lost. Maybe your emotional courage reminded them how much they had been suppressing. Maybe your authenticity exposed how exhausting their emotional mask had become. Whatever it was, being around you created internal contrast, and contrast creates awakening. Suddenly they could feel the gap between who they were pretending to be and who they truly were underneath. That gap can be painful because awakening does not feel beautiful at first. It feels uncomfortable. It forces honesty. It reveals loneliness. It exposes emotional hunger. And if they have spent years functioning through avoidance, numbness, or ego control, your presence became impossible to ignore because you disrupted that emotional routine. This is why some people become strangely obsessed after meeting someone meaningful. Not because they are irrational, but because something deep in their psyche has been activated. They begin thinking about you at unusual times. Random moments trigger memories. Songs feel different. Nights feel heavier. Silence often grows louder when feelings remain unresolved. They may tell themselves to stop thinking about you, yet their mind keeps returning because something within them still feels unfinished. The ego prefers certainty, control, and emotional distance, but genuine love often challenges those defenses and demands change. Type yes. If you've ever felt someone pull away, even though their love felt real, that is why someone can care deeply and still become inconsistent. They may delay communication, pull away, or seem warm one day and distant the next. Not always because their feelings disappeared, but because part of them wants closeness while another part fears it. If this behavior has confused you, remember that inconsistency does not automatically mean manipulation. Sometimes it reflects an inner conflict between attachment and fear. Behind emotional avoidance, there is often an old wound shaped by rejection, abandonment, betrayal, criticism, or neglect. Over time, those experiences become protective habits that discourage vulnerability. Then genuine love arrives and challenges every defense they built. Their mind may not consciously understand what is happening, but their nervous system remembers, making emotional closeness feel both deeply desired and frightening at the same time. So even while love grows, fear grows too. This is why dangerous love does not only feel intoxicating, it also feels exposing. And yet there is a third reason someone fell for you so intensely. This may be the most powerful reason of all. It has nothing to do with what you said, nothing to do with what you promised, nothing to do with how available you were. It has to do with what they felt when they imagined losing you. Pay attention to this. People often understand their love most clearly when separation becomes real. As long as someone feels they have time, they can remain emotionally lazy. They can delay honesty, they can avoid vulnerability and hide behind uncertainty for only so long. But the moment they sense you pulling your energy back or realize you may stop waiting, denial often gives way to emotional clarity. Sometimes a person does not fully recognize the depth of their feelings until the possibility of losing someone becomes real. Your absence can reveal emotions they had been avoiding, making them realize how meaningful the connection had become. What made the bond difficult to replace was not perfection but emotional resonance. Attention, distraction, and temporary comfort can often be replaced, but the feeling of being deeply understood is much rarer. That kind of connection leaves a lasting impression because it touches something deeper than attraction alone. It changes the way a person experiences themselves and the relationship. Comment Jung. If Carl Jung's ideas on the psyche resonate with you, when someone realizes you have become emotionally irreplaceable, they often move in one of two directions. They either find the courage to face their feelings, or fear pushes them further into avoidance. There is rarely a comfortable middle ground because emotional truth demands a response. That is why the most confusing behavior can sometimes come from the person who feels the most. They may miss you deeply, think about you often, or quietly watch from a distance while still struggling to express what they truly feel. Because the deeper truth is not simply that they love you. The deeper truth is that loving you forced them to confront something they have avoided for years, and that something is their own inability to receive the very love they have spent their life craving, because wanting love and receiving love are not the same psychological experience. Many people long for love in theory but struggle with real intimacy. Fantasy feels safe because it requires little vulnerability, while genuine love asks for honesty, emotional openness, and accountability. For someone carrying fear, shame, or unhealed wounds, receiving authentic love can feel overwhelming. Sometimes the greatest barrier is not timing or distance, but the fear that loving someone fully means confronting the parts of themselves they have hidden for years. Beneath emotional distance and mixed signals often lies a deeper fear. What if they truly see me and still leave? That unspoken belief can quietly shape how someone loves. A person who relies on emotional control is not afraid because love is weak. They are afraid because love exposes the vulnerability, grief, and self-doubt they have spent years protecting. What looks like indecision from the outside may actually be an inner struggle they have never learned to face. You did not simply enter their life, you awakened parts of them that had long been buried beneath routines, distractions, and emotional defenses. They began feeling more deeply, remembering more, and questioning things they had carefully kept hidden. That awakening often brings discomfort, because once the heart begins telling the truth, it becomes much harder for the mind to keep pretending that nothing has changed. This is where many people misunderstand emotional withdrawal. They assume distance means disinterest. But often distance appears right after emotional significance becomes undeniable. Why? Because the person is trying to regain equilibrium, they feel themselves losing control of a carefully constructed internal system. They begin asking questions that unsettle them. Why do I care so much? Why does their silence affect me? Why do I keep thinking about them even while trying to move on? For someone who avoids vulnerability, these questions can feel threatening because they point towards surrender, something the defended mind often resists. As Carl Jung suggested, the shadow holds not only pain, but also the parts of ourselves we have hidden, including tenderness, longing, and the capacity to love. Share this with someone who needs to understand why love feels both powerful and scary. Many people survive by becoming emotionally guarded, convincing themselves they need very little from others. Then someone enters their life and quietly awakens the closeness, vulnerability, and connection they had buried for years. Instead of recognizing this as healing, they mistake it for danger because it challenges the identity they built around staying in control. The problem is not the connection itself. It is that the connection becomes a mirror, reflecting truths they are not yet ready to face. That is why someone can love deeply and still struggle to move toward the person they love. Strong feelings alone do not create emotional maturity or the ability to communicate openly. A person may care intensely while still lacking the skills to trust, stay emotionally present, or express what they feel. You may sense the connection beneath the surface, but recognizing someone's feelings does not erase the pain caused when those feelings are never matched by consistent action and presence. Understanding their fear does not automatically heal the distance, and this is where your own emotional journey becomes just as important as theirs. Because when someone falls dangerously in love with you, there is a temptation to become consumed by their inner conflict. You begin analyzing every silence, every shift in energy, and every inconsistency, trying to understand what they cannot express. Slowly, you start carrying the emotional weight for both of you, believing that if you understand them enough, everything will finally make sense. But love was never meant to require abandoning yourself. Their struggles may be real, yet your worth cannot depend on when or if they become emotionally ready. Many emotionally aware people confuse empathy with responsibility. They believe they can love someone into healing, but real healing begins only when that person chooses honesty over avoidance. It happens when they stop running, stop hiding behind fear, and accept responsibility for their emotional life. Transformation usually comes quietly, when avoiding the truth becomes more painful than facing it. If this connection truly affected them deeply, it may continue working within them even during separation. People rarely forget someone who touched them in a meaningful way, especially when that connection awakened both love and fear. They may replay memories, revisit conversations, or wonder whether they lost something important through their own hesitation. Sometimes distance becomes the lesson that presence could not be. When people return changed, it is rarely because time alone healed them. It is because emotional truth finally became stronger than their defenses. They reached the end of avoidance and discovered something painful. Protecting themselves from vulnerability also protected them from love, and eventually the cost became too high. But there is another possibility you must also hold with wisdom. Sometimes the deepest healing does not come from their return. Sometimes it comes from your release. This is important because emotional maturity means allowing truth to be truth, even when it does not match desire. Yes, someone may love you intensely. Yes, someone may feel enormous emotional significance with you. Yes, someone may be terrified because of how much they feel. If this awakened something in you, comment "awaken" below. But if they continually choose defense over connection, silence over honesty, fear over growth, then their love remains emotionally incomplete, and incomplete love, no matter how intense, still creates pain. Intensity is not the same as readiness. This distinction changes everything. A person can feel overwhelming love and still be unable to build a healthy connection. Why? Because sustainable love requires more than emotion. It requires emotional responsibility, courage, consistency, capacity, presence, truth. Without these, even powerful love becomes trapped inside fantasy. Some connections remain unspoken and unfinished, but that does not mean you should sacrifice your own needs. Honor what was real without tying your worth to someone else's timing or fears. You were never meant to prove you were lovable, patient, or understanding enough. Type mirror. If you've ever reflected a hidden part of someone they were afraid to face. If someone fell deeply for you, it was not because you chased or convinced them. It was because your presence awakened something genuine within them. You made them feel safe enough to soften, reflected parts of themselves they had long hidden, and became emotionally significant in ways they did not expect. Whether they find the courage to embrace that connection or remain held back by fear reflects their own readiness, not your value. A real connection may be genuine, but genuine feelings alone do not determine the outcome. Connection creates possibility, while choices and consistent actions create the relationship. If they are meant to meet you fully, they will eventually have to choose honesty over fear, heal old wounds, and let love become stronger than the need for control. That journey belongs to them, not to you. And if they never make that choice, your worth remains unchanged. You are not difficult to love, nor are you asking too much by wanting clarity, consistency, honesty, and effort. The right relationship will not ask you to shrink yourself to fit someone else's avoidance. It will meet you with presence, willingness, and genuine commitment. It reveals the power of your emotional presence, your warmth, your intuition, your depth, your ability to touch hearts beyond words. You may not always see your own impact because what comes naturally to you feels ordinary, but to someone emotionally defended, your emotional honesty can feel revolutionary. Your softness can feel healing. Your presence can feel unforgettable. That is not weakness. That is power in its most human form. So whether this person comes forward tomorrow, months from now, or never in the way you hoped, let this truth stay with you. You were never insignificant. You were never invisible. You were never just another person in their story. You changed something. You awakened something, and sometimes the greatest proof of love is not always immediate union. Sometimes it is the undeniable transformation left behind. If this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, maybe your heart already knew. Maybe part of you needed permission to stop doubting what you felt, and maybe part of you also needed permission to stop carrying what was never yours to carry. Let love reveal truth, but let truth free you. And if someone truly belongs in your life, they will not remain a mystery forever. Eventually, love asks everyone the same question. Will you choose fear, or will you choose truth? If this touched something deep within you and you want more emotionally meaningful insights like this, subscribe to The Deep Mind. This space is for hearts that feel deeply, love honestly, and seek truth beneath the surface. And until we meet again, be gentle with your heart, because the love meant for you will never ask you to abandon yourself to receive. Like, comment which of the 3 reasons touched you most, and subscribe for more deep psychological insights on love and emotional truth.